Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We've been announcing this event for over 8 weeks now, I think, or something like that, so finally here. So thank you all very much for being here. I'm happy to introduce Brother Aijaz Hussain, who's the Senior Vice President for Sales and Director with University Islamic Financing based out of Chicago. We're very happy to have you here and talk to us about the products that your company offers. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Brother Murad. And I also want to thank the entire Masjid leadership group who work tirelessly for our communities and who've also allowed me to come here and do a little presentation on this topic. As Brother Murad introduced me, my name is Aijaz Hussain. I'm the Senior Vice President Sales and Director at UIF. Just a little bit about my background. I actually been in the Islamic financing industry for the last 15 years. Prior to that, I used to work on Wall Street with Solomon Smith Barney, which is now Morgan Stanley and UBS. So I spent 7 years working on Wall Street firms. But when the whole technology bubble burst, the NASDAQ crashed. It was a very rough time in the stock market. People like us who were in the money management field doing investment management. So I got a call back in 2003 from a new company launching in Northern Virginia saying, you know, we're looking to hire a brother in the Chicago area to be our area manager for our operations. And that company that I'm starting off was Guidance Residential. So I joined them, because it was such a, normally at that time, I didn't know a whole lot about Islamic financing, but I was curious. I'm like, you know, I've heard about Islamic financing, but I don't know anything about it. So I went and I met with them. Then I started reading a couple of books on Islamic financing so I could get my own personal knowledge. And then I talked to some Sharia board members, some scholars who educated me a little bit more on Islamic financing, and I decided to make that jump. It's been a wonderful, wonderful 15 years for me, brothers. It's not only can you make a good living working in this line of work, but you're also there serving the community. In my mind, keeping people out of riba, I have seen this business from all sides, dealing with regulators, dealing with investors, doing these presentations. I've done over 700 presentations on the topic of Islamic financing all across America. I have also I've done presentations at Harvard University and some of the larger universities talking about Islamic financing. So this topic is not new, it's very close to my heart. And every other week I'm traveling to different markets. 2 weeks ago I was in San Francisco, I did presentations at Santa Clara Masjid. This weekend I'm over here. Next 2 weeks I'm taking off. But inshallah I'll be back on the road in January again, presentations in Florida and other markets. So I'm going to take my sweet time getting into the presentation because I know people are still walking in and I don't want the first part of the presentation is very important, so I don't want people missing that part because once you miss that part, it's hard to catch on to what I'm talking about when it goes to Islamic financing. So nonetheless, that's kind of my background in Islamic financing. So then 7 years ago, I left Guidance. We had a bit of an issue with the CEO over there who I was reporting to. My title at Guidance was Vice President Sales. So I moved to UIF, and I'll tell you a little bit about UIF shortly. But I moved to UIF about 7 years ago, and since then we've been building the UIF brand. UIF has been in business for about 12 years now. It's a company based out of Michigan, and alhamdulillah, we have, just to give you some reference, Colorado is new. We just opened Colorado last year, but we've been doing business in a lot of the big states over the last 12 years. We have done close to $2 billion in home financing for the community already. We've done over 50 million in masjid financing projects. So coast to coast, we have financed masajid all across America. We also do commercial real estate, but everything we do is in Islamic financing. So our total operations are based on doing things Islamically, keeping people out of riba, offering an alternative to what's available out there when it comes to Islamic financing. So that's a little bit about my background. That's a little bit of UIF background. So what my purpose today when I do these presentations, it's a very educational presentation talking about the home buying process. Some people who are coming here are looking to buy a home for the first time. And then I'll dive into the Islamic financing part, how our program is different compared to a bank lending model, and to offer Islamic financing, what goes into it, what is the differences, what are the nuances. So I want to cover that so community understands. There's a lot of misinformation out there. People don't know Islamic financing. They talk to each other. They come to their own conclusions, and everybody seems to feel that they know what Islamic financing is, where they don't. It takes a lot of years to understand what goes into making an Islamic financing contract, what is legitimate you can do, what you cannot do, and so on and so forth. Before I go into the Islamic financing part, I'm going to quickly talk about the 5 steps to buying a home. The very first step, brothers, is the pre-qualification stage. Pre-qualification is understanding your buying limit, how much of a home you can afford to buy. If you don't know that, then no realtor really wants to work with you, and no seller will take your offer seriously, because they will say, first question they ask you is, they ask the realtor, if you want to go with the realtor to go shopping for a house, the first question they will ask you is, are you pre-qualified to buy a home? Are you pre-approved to buy a home? Because if you're not pre-approved, nobody wants to waste their time, because then they don't want to take you around, show you homes, come back, and then you cannot get approved to buy a home. So it's a waste of time for everybody, right? And for you as well. So the first step is pre-qualification. This is where our company excels. We spend a lot of time in the first call, first meeting, when we talk to you, understanding your situation, your income, your credit, how much down payment. We run a full credit report. We don't charge you anything. It's a free pre-qualification. Most companies charge you for that. We don't. We want to make sure once we give you our letter saying you can go buy a home for $300,000, we will stand behind that letter. We don't want you to go search for homes, come back, and then realize we cannot do it. So first step is pre-qualification. So next step is the finding the home. This is where a good realtor is extremely important. A good realtor will understand and do a full understanding of your situation, and then take you and show you homes. I know Brother Amir is over here. He's a realtor in the community. I'm sure he has business cards. If anybody wants to take his business card, I met him this afternoon. I was lucky to meet him. We talked about our program. He had very specific questions about our program. How does it work? How is it different? I explained to him. So we try to partner with different realtors who we can assist. So feel free to talk to Brother Amir. Is there any other realtor in the house by any chance? Oh,
I'm joining the real.
okay. What is your name, brother?
Saeed.
Brother Saeed. So we try to work with Muslim realtors. This way, inshallah, we can help each other out. So second step is finding a home. That's very, very critical. Having an experienced realtor is very, very important, so they can guide you, help you finding a home. Third step is the offer acceptance. Once you have found the house, you call us back. And that's the time our representative will, in detail, take your information in terms of, we have to collect your pay stubs, your tax returns, your bank statements. At that time, you have to give us everything. In the pre-qualification stage, the first stage, you're not really giving us anything. You're not giving us any proof up front. Unless you're self-employed, we might request tax returns just to kind of make sure you have the right income. But other than that, we don't require any paperwork up front. But at the third step, offer acceptance, you send us your purchase contract, your pay stub, your income documents, your bank statements, etc., and we put the file together to get the file approved. Then the fourth step, the file is approved, and then the closing happens, where you get the keys and the monies change hand between the seller and the buyers and so forth. So these are the 5 steps in home buying. Our company has been doing this for a while. We have become very good. We can do a closing from start to finish in 20 days. Okay? So once you find the house, pre-qualification we give you, you can take 2-3 months to look for a house. That's up to you. So we don't control that time. But once you find a house and you say, I found a house, they call us, we immediately put motions into work. We've spent millions in the technology, so we can do everything very fast. So we can get the whole closing from start to finish done. From the time you send us the purchase contract and documents to the closing in about 20 days, okay? So the fastest we've done is in 7 days, which is no bank you can walk into any bank over here. I challenge you to say, have you done a closing in 7 days? No, we have, because we have the same technology that propels some of the biggest companies like Rocket Mortgage and stuff. We use the same technology in the back end, so everything is very fast, highly technology, very smooth. Inshallah, we get it done. So we can help you with that stuff. People ask us, how do I get qualified with you? We look for 3 things: monthly income. It's not the income you make, but the income you show and you can prove to us. I get a lot of people from a community saying, brother, I make $50,000, but I only show $10,000 on your tax returns. Well, that's great, you save money on taxes, but if you're not showing income on paper, we can't really count it. That's very, very important for our community, brothers. If you're looking to buy a home and you're self-employed, you need to be showing income on your tax returns. It cannot be that you make the income, but you're not showing income. Okay, it doesn't work that way. So again, if your situation is unique like that, talk to us. We will explain to you, we will guide you, we will handhold you how to do it correctly so we can buy a home inshallah for you. Credit, it cannot be bad. If you don't have any credit, we can help you. If you have good credit, we can help you. But if you have judgments, foreclosures, bankruptcies, etc., unfortunately, we cannot help you. So this is again is a very, if somebody has bad credit, we help you fix it. It might take us 6 months, but then we can help you buy the home. So we're all about hand-holding, making it work for you. And then finally, down payment. With us, we can go down to as low as 3% down payment, but we can do 5% and higher. 20% is very good because you get the best pricing, but we can go down to 5 or 3% down payment. So if you're buying a home for $200,000, you need to come up with $6,000. Now, 3% down program is a very specialized program. You have to qualify for that with certain criteria. But if you can do 5% down, it's no problem. We can pretty much help anybody with a 5% down. If your credit is not as good, you might have to have a higher down payment. So if your credit is not poor, you might ask you to put 10% down or 20% down and so forth. I'll now talk about the Islamic financing process, how it works, how it's different. First and foremost, brothers, the people think Islamic financing is something very easy to do. Anybody can do it. I always get, hey brother, your program is very good, but can you just change this? Can you do this? It's not that easy because there are many parties involved and you have to get approvals from many parties. First and foremost is Sharia board. Before even we launch a program, we have multiple Sharia boards, multiple scholars. The scholars, it starts over there. They are the ones who have the knowledge, the expertise to help us, guide us to create the contract. If we propose a contract and they see some issue that violates the Sharia angle, they'll come back and say, well, this is a problem, you have to change it or do it like this or like that. So we utilize Sharia board. So they have to get their approvals. Besides them, you have to abide by federal laws. There are federal laws in this country. If you're doing business in this country, you have to abide by Fair Credit Reporting Act, RESPA Acts, HMDA Acts, this and that, and on and on and on. So when they look at our contract, they have to make sure that our Islamic financing contracts are not violating any of the federal laws. Same thing with state agencies. They look for the same thing too. Sellers are not Muslims. Their attorneys will look at our contracts and they will come back and they have to be sure with that. Title companies, investors. So there are so many different parties who have to come together to get a program approved. It's not easy. It takes about $10 million to launch the program because it's a very complicated program in terms of getting individual state approvals and getting licensing approvals. To open Colorado, we had to apply, wait almost a couple of years, go through all the motions. Colorado State will look at our program, even though California has already approved us 10 years ago. But Colorado will say, no, we have to go through our checks and our balances and so forth. So again, we are operating currently in 23 states. Obviously, Colorado is one of them. A lot of the big states that you can think of, we are already there. Now we're opening the next level states. Last year we opened Colorado, Kentucky, Tennessee. So we're opening the smaller states. Beginning we opened the bigger ones, Texas, Illinois, Michigan, California, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just to give you a frame of a reference, how complicated, how difficult, how challenging it is to put an Islamic financing program together. These are some of the scholars on a Sharia board. On the left side, the first two boards, Shape and Straightway Ethical, are the two boards. Shape is based out of the Middle East. These are all AOFI scholars. AOFI scholars, and again, when you go on our website, before you leave, you'll take my business card over here. On the website, myuif.com on the bottom there, you have the bios of all the scholars. You have their backgrounds. We also added a third Sharia board very recently that's not on here. It's on our website. It's called Amani. These are Dr. Al-Ghari, some of the very, very big scholars who just became the third group to join our Sharia board, who are helping us design and also audit our program. It's not just designing, but every year a member of the Sharia board comes and audits to make sure we are doing things correctly. Some of the testimonials and reviews are provided to us. Imam Majid is the past president of ISNA. Imam Zaid Shakir and Sheikh Hamza Yusuf Zaitun Institute, not only scholars but also our clients. Sheikh Omar Suleiman has a wonderful quote about our company, Imam Tahir. And again, we have on and on. We have a whole bunch of scholars. If you go on our website, you can read and you can see who all approved us. And these are scholars not only approving it, but they bought their homes with us, alhamdulillah, and we're very proud of that. So how does it work? How is it different, right? How does Islamic financing work? How is it different than conventional lending? The answer is very simple. From an Islamic perspective, you cannot loan money to somebody and make extra money on it, because that extra money becomes riba it becomes interest. So lending in Islam falls under the charitable umbrella, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, if you give money to somebody, do it like a charitable act. Karde hasana, you're doing it as a charitable act, Allah will give us the hasana for that. Don't expect more money in return for that. So in Islam, lending comes under the charitable umbrella. It's not a business model. In the Western economic systems, lending is a business model. Banks are lending to businesses, government is lending to the banks, businesses are lending to consumers. The whole system revolves around riba 24/7. But from a Sharia perspective, you cannot use that. Why? Because money by itself is not a product. We cannot buy and sell money. We cannot eat money, we cannot drink money, it's not a product. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us trade is encouraged. We can do trade. So we can buy and sell products and services, but we cannot buy and sell money. So when the scholars look at our contract, the first thing they look and say, is this contract revolving around buying and selling money, or is this revolving around buying and selling a product? If there is a product in the middle, and there are parties involved, profit is made, yes. But if there's a product in the middle, that's what makes it halal, where profit is being made by buying and selling a product, not by buying and selling money. So when I explain this to the people, we all know about banks, but how do banks work, right? Banks, we all can agree, don't make any products. They don't make tables, chairs, computers, cars, phones. They don't make anything. All they are doing is they're trading money back and forth. Islamically, you cannot do that because you cannot buy and sell money. How are they buying money? They open a nice fancy office. We go there, we put our money in there. We open checking account, savings account, money market, etc. And they will give us, let's just say, 0.25% interest. So they're buying the money by giving a 0.25% interest. They take that money and now they loan it out in the form of home loans, car loans, business loans, whatever loans, and they charge a higher interest rate. So they're paying 0.25% to the person who's depositing the money in the bank. They're lending it out at 5%, for example. Their profit margin is 4.75. It's called the interest spread. That's what the bank terminology is. So they buy money from the customers at deposit accounts. They sell it in the form of loans to other parties, and their profit is being made by difference between the borrowing rate and lending rate. It's called the interest spread. So their profit is being made by buying and selling money, which is haram. What do Islamic financing companies do? We buy assets. We buy goods. We have to have a product. So we can buy a product. We can sell the product. And our profit is made, the difference price between the buying of the product and selling the product. Okay? Simple example, right? If I'm selling fruits, if I have a fruit stand and I'm selling fruits at the masjid, obviously I'm not the farmer. So I buy bananas for $1 a dozen. And if I mark the bananas up to $2 a dozen and I sell it to you, it's halal because I'm buying a product for $1 a pound or $1 a dozen from the farmer, and I'm selling it for $2. So I can make a profit by selling a product. So Islamically, you're allowed to do that. So the three transactions that are popular to do this Islamic financing. One is the muraba, that is the installment sale. That's what we do. In our case, we will buy the house in cash we raise our own money from the community. We buy the house in cash, and then we add a markup, a profit, and we sell it to you in monthly installments. You can buy from us over time. Ijara is the lease to own model. Car companies do leasing. You can drive their car. You pay a lease for the car, monthly payment, and then you can either give the car back or you can buy it for whatever price you agree to. And musharaka is a third model, which is a co-ownership, where both parties come together. They buy the property together, or you can open a business in a musharaka where you both become partners and you are agreeing to profits and losses and so forth. So musharaka is the third model of Islamic financing. In every case, there is a product involved. There is no money being bought and sold. I give this example because it's a real example. This is the ads. You'll probably see car companies run these ads. 0% APR for 60 months. 0% APR for 60 months, which Honda is doing it, or Ford is doing it, or whoever is doing it, 0% APR doesn't mean they're making 0% profit. 0% APR means the profit is added into the price of the car, and they are taking the price of the car and they're dividing it up into 60 months, and they're letting you pay in installments over. This is a very typical murabaha example. So if you go to the car dealer and say, how does the If you say Muraba, they'll throw you out. Don't say that. But if you walk in and say, I'm interested in the 0% financing program, he's going to say, well, okay, here's how it works. The car is worth $10,000, retail price. If you want to make payments in 5 years, I will divide the payments 10,000 divided by 60 months, and you make payments for 5 years to me. But then you say, well, what if I have cash? Can I pay cash? He says, yeah, if you pay cash, I can drop the price down to $8,000 because you're paying me cash immediately. So I don't have to finance the car and give you 5 years to pay for it. So I get immediate cash, so I can do lower. So he's giving you upfront discount for that. So Muraba is a very typical installment sale program that car companies utilize. We just use the same model for a house financing program. How does Muraba program work with our company? Let's say Umar, example I'm using, brother Umar comes to us and says, brother Ijaz, I want to buy this house. This house is worth $100,000. So we will use our own capital to buy the home for $100,000. And then we'll say, brother Umar, how much time do you need to buy this home back from us? And there are 4 terms. You can do 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, or 30-year. You have 4 choices. You can pick any one of the terms. Based on the term, we add the profit. The longer term you go, the more profit we're going to add. So if you're doing 10-year, least amount of profit, 15 a little bit more, 20 a little bit more, 30 the highest profit because you're doing a longer time. So, brother, are you here for the presentation? 5:30 presentation, or did you just come in? I'll cover it. I've already started. I will cover it again, inshallah. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah. So brother Umar basically, brother Umar says, okay, well, brother Ijaz, I can buy this house for, it's not a big house. I can probably buy it in 10 years. So we say, okay, brother Umar, here's what we're going to do. We will buy the house for $100,000 from the seller. John Smith is the seller. We buy it for $100,000. We will add 20,000 profit. This is just an example I'm giving you. Okay, this is purely an example. 20,000 profit we add. We will sell the house to you for $120,000. You can make monthly payments to us for $1,000 a month for the next 10 years. Okay, and by doing that, 20,000 is our profit. We're making the profit halal way by selling the house to you with the profit added on, the markup profit added onto it. So this is an example of a Muraba installment sale program. Why UIF, brothers? One thing not only we have strict Sharia compliance, and you can see that on our website, all the different scholars approving us, but we really work hard to keep the pricing low for the community because we don't want Muslims to pay more for Islamic home financing. We don't want you to tell your friends and family members that, yes, I went Islamic financing, but I had to pay a little bit more. We want you to say, I got Islamic financing and I didn't have to pay any more, so I think you should also do this, because this way, why go into a riba-based contract? So we understand, and there are different degrees of Muslims. For some Muslim brothers and sisters, even if they have to pay a little bit more, they don't care. But for most Muslim brothers and sisters, they will say, brother, as long as your pricing is competitive with the bank, what I'm going to pay with the bank, I'll go with you. But I don't want to pay more. So we understand that. So we want to keep our pricing competitive. And finally, one of the equally important, hand-holding. If you get a chance and you go see reviews on any one of our offices, we have almost 5-star reviews across the board on almost every office because we pay very close attention to the service. Every week I get surveys back from close customers to me. I'm the head of the company. I give the surveys. If any brother survey is not good, we have a conversation. Why did we get a poor survey? So everybody is very concerned about maintaining, and their bonuses are based on giving the best service, because I believe our future customers come from current customers. If you don't keep the current customers happy, there are no future customers. So we're very big on hand-holding and service, alhamdulillah. And then for that reason, Islamic Finance News Magazine ranked us #1 for 3 years in a row since they started voting. We've been ranked #1 in America as the best Islamic financing company. And this year, inshallah, 2018 is getting done. We expect to win the vote this year as well as the #1 company. I want to end, before I do question answers with you, with this ayah from the Holy Quran. This was very meaningful to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to mankind and saying, they say trade is but a kind of riba, but Allah has made trade lawful and riba unlawful. See, people are going to say, I hear this all the time. Brother Ijaz, it's like catching a year like this or like this, and I've heard of every variation of this. It's the same thing. I'm paying the same amount of money to you, what I would pay to a bank, But so Allah is referencing that. People are going to tell you that. But trade is a preferred way. It's going to look like it's similar to riba, but it's not. That's why we have made trade a lawful business model as opposed to doing it, buying and selling of money, which is unlawful. So let me stop with that, inshallah, and I will open for any questions. And
so, Jazakallah, just to get your question answered, inshallah. I have seen this presentation, not from the brother, from other places, let's not get into fatwa, halal, haram, because we have our imam, Sheikh Hamdi is here. If you have any question about halal, haram, I think that should be from the imam. For this, how it works, try to get as much as possible to understand how the process is. So when you talk to Imam Hamdi, or you have questions, we know he will know how to answer it. Is that fair? Because sometimes the last time when we had the present like this, somebody start saying, "Oh, that haram." The brother, he's very professional, but he's not an imam. Even he's an imam, he's not our imam. So I think just for you to get the best out of this, and we have no affiliation with the brother or his business. We get you another organization as well. So we have no association. We are not endorsing anyone. So just to be clear, Jazakallah.
And I completely agree 100% with what brother said. I always, when I start a presentation, I say, brother, I'm here to educate you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not a scholar. But I've learned over the last 15 years, learning from scholars, imams. So I can answer some of the questions. But as brother said, we have to defer to people who are a lot more knowledgeable than I am. Yes, brother.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Rabi Al-Hassan. My question, you talk about the pre-approval process, where you talk about credit, check income. What are the credit limits you are looking for? What's the range of income? For example, if you are looking for apartment here, some people tell you 3% of your income is what kind of 1/3 of your income will be the rent. The rental price will be 3% of your income. Is that based you calculate people or how you?
Yes, Brother Ravi. So what we do is when we are looking at your income, we're analyzing it to see how much of a home you can afford to buy. Typically, we don't want your total monthly payments. And this is where we look at your total payments and we say, okay, your house payment is, let's say $2,000, including property taxes and home insurance and everything else. You have minimum monthly credit card payments of, let's say, $50, $75, $100, $150, whatever. Let's say another $500, so that's $2,500. You have another car payment of $500, that's $3,000. So let's say if you're making $10,000 a month in income. I'm just giving examples for round figures. So if you make 10,000, if you can 10,000 income you make, you can prove to us, then your total payments, debt payments, cannot be more than 4,500. That's called the DTI ratio, debt to income ratio. That's the industry number. So we look to see your total monthly payment, monthly obligations. That should not be more than 45%. If you do 5,000, then you take 45% of the 5,000. So whatever your income is, that's why somebody who is making 10,000 a month can buy a home that is maybe, let's say, 500,000, and somebody who's making 50,000 will have to buy a home for maybe 250 maximum. So like that, I'm just using examples for you.
Is it a net income?
Gross income. But let me tighten that for you. When I say gross, it's for people who work for a company, for somebody, W2 income. But if it's self-employed, it has to be net income. Because business owners, if business owners are taking $10,000, if they make $100,000 in gross sales, then they take all the deductions for travel, for this, for that, then what net income they show. For business owners, we have to look at the net income after business expenses. If you work for a company, you're a W2 employee, then your gross income. So if you work for IBM and you make $120,000 a year, $10,000 a month, obviously if you have to pay taxes and stuff, your income will be $7,500 net. But we don't look at that. We look at 10,000, whatever your gross income is. Yes.
So the same right there.
Yes.
So now Colorado, really, the real estate is really very expensive.
Sure.
If you want to buy a nice house, I don't think you can find anything less than $400,000 that's
Yes.
really reasonable.
Yeah.
So, and the income hasn't really increased that, comparatively.
Sure.
So how do you handle these situations?
Luckily you said 400. Last week I was in San Francisco Bay Area. I almost got thrown out of there because people said your maximum limit is 750 in financing. Over here an average home is not less than 750. So how can you even? So I was thinking, yes, that's right, brother. It's the challenge we have, brother, is this. Home prices will be going up. We don't have that under control. So the only thing that is in control is the income you make. So I don't have a good answer for you for that in terms of we cannot increase, we cannot ask you to take a higher risk. Obviously, if we put you in a house where the payment is so high that it's hard for you to make monthly payments. It's hard. That's what banks were doing that before. Back in 2007, 2008, banks intentionally were putting people in homes. They knew they could not afford the payment. Because they knew after 2 years, if they cannot make payments, they'll give them a teaser rate. For the first 2 years, we'll give them a lower rate of 1.5%, 2%. And then after 2 years, once they cannot make payments, you take their home back, sell it to somebody else. Islamically, we cannot do that. Alhamdulillah, we want to keep people in the homes. So if people lose a job, people who have a medical condition up to a year, we keep them in the house. We lower the payment, we stop the monthly payment, whatever it is to take. So that is why, if a brother comes to us and says, I make 50,000 but I want to buy a $500,000 house, we will say, brother, we cannot do it because you cannot afford to buy the house. We don't want to put you in a situation like that. So, unfortunately, I don't have an answer for what you're asking, but we will tell you, listen, maybe if you have a wife who works, maybe we can use her income, maybe if adult children, maybe we can add their income, because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make payments. How can you make payments if the house is expensive? So it's just a discussion we have to have and come to a conclusion, inshallah. Yes, brother.
Yeah.
And then I'll come to you after that. Yes.
Supposedly, for any reason, I bought a house over here,
Mm-hmm.
and they decided to transfer for another state.
Uh-huh.
Can I sell it, or it's still yours?
No, house is yours because once we buy the house and we sell it to you, the title is in your name. So the house is yours, it's not ours. But to answer your question, here is how it works. In that example I gave, the $100,000, we buy the house, we add 20,000 profit, we sell you for 120. Every month when you make a payment, part of the money goes into acquisition, part of the money goes to the profit. And you are paying it down every month by month, you're paying it down. So let's say we started with 10 years, but let's say after 5 years, acquisition is 50,000 left, profit you already paid 10,000, 10,000 profit is left. You want to sell the house. So what we will say is sell the house for whatever price you want. You will only buy it, give us $50,000 back. We will forgive the future profit. So you only pay us the money left in the acquisition bucket. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we don't collect future profit. So you are paying us prorated profit until you are living in the house. So you only pay the balance left in the acquisition bucket. If for the same example, after 2 years you come, and after 2 years from 100,000 you paid us 90,000 is left, you paid 5,000 profit, you only will pay 90,000, that's it, and then you keep the rest of the money.
Yeah, because there is a case like this, a friend of mine in another state,
Uh-huh.
he bought the same system like what you were talking about.
Mhm.
Then when he decided to sell it, they told him, no, it's not yours. It's still what you have paid during that 10 years ago, it's just profit for us, and the house it's not for you. It's not yours.
That's illegal to do.
Yeah.
That's number one. It's illegal to do that. I think we have to understand your friend's situation. Obviously, I'll be happy to look at his
They are
situation.
picking up the profit first. It's unfair.
No. It's not the profit first. I think what you're referring to is on a 30-year contract. When you do a 30-year contract, in the beginning, more money is going towards the profit, less is going towards the acquisition. This is how on a 30-year contracts work. Because most homes are sold off or refinanced within 7 to 10 years. So the way the contracts work on a 30-year, more of the money when you make payment in the beginning is going towards the profit, less is going to. But this is the federal law. You cannot do that. Whatever you have paid down towards the acquisition, that's all you have to pay. The other if that's what your friend is saying, maybe there's a misunderstanding. He doesn't understand or something. But I'll be happy to look at the situation. But that's
Yeah.
illegal. You cannot do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question there.
Yes.
My name is Zaz. I'm a real estate appraiser.
Okay.
We have a couple of real estate agents, so you might be asking me very specific
Sure,
questions
sure.
if you can answer them to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
point. So, brother A buys a house today for $300,000, and we're gonna go with the banking system, and let's say the interest rate is at 4.5, and brother B buys a house for $300,000 at a 5% interest after 6 months. Now, does the profit margin in yours, does it change or not, or is it the same? For example, he buys a house for 300, he buys a house for 300, but the banking
Right.
interest rate is different.
Yes.
Now, do your profit margins go up and down?
It doesn't. What happens is, whenever you buy the house, that is the time you are fixing the profit. So in the future, we don't know if the rates are going to be going up and down or what's going to happen. But today, if this brother is buying the house and we give him 4.5, today is our profit. Today our profit rate is 5% on a 30-year program. This is very competitive with the banks. So today, if we sell the brother the house at 5% profit rate added into the price of the house, but let's say 6 months from now, in the market the rates have gone down, and our rate 6 months from now is 4.5%. When he's buying the house, he will get the 4.5% profit rate. Or if the rates have gone up to 5.5, he will buy it at 5.5% profit rate. So in the future, what happens? But the time we do the deal, we fix the profit, because one of the things about Islamic contract, both parties have to know upfront what the exact profit will be, what the exact monthly payment will be for the length of the term. So our profit does not fluctuate along the way; it's fixed.
So the same way, if the interest rate goes up, do you expect the partner to get more profit from the person?
Well, see, the thing is, there's a gap of 3 months.
Yeah.
This brother's buying a house for 300, this brother's buying a house for 300. Now, as an appraiser, how we see the future, in the past year, interest rate every day is going up. It's going to go all the way up to probably 6%. And a lot of houses are going to drop in prices and all this. So now, what happens to you here? Let's first talk about the interest, and then we'll talk about the other outcomes. So if there's a gap of 3 months, he's buying it for 300, he's buying it for 300. So this brother buys it at 5% profit, and this brother buys it at 4% profit. Now, does your profit margins change? And if it does, what happens to this brother? Does he refinance it to drop it to 4%?
No, we don't automatically do anything. But let's say, if he buys it today at 5%, 6 months later, let's say if the rate went to 5.5, let's say market rates have gone up to 5.5, he doesn't have to do anything. He's happy, okay, but when he's buying it, his profit rate will be 5.5 that time, okay? But if the rates had gone down to 4.5, he will get 4.5, and this brother has the option to refinance with us at a lower rate. So he has to apply for that. It's not automatically doesn't happen. He has to come to us and say, brother, I heard the market, the rates have gone down. Is it make sense? Then we will do a calculation for him. We will tell him, yes, brother, for your rate 5 to 4.5, you will save $100 a month, but closing costs are going to be $3,000. If you want to do it, we'll do it.
So there will be fees.
Of course, because you have to pay the appraisal fee, you have to pay the title fee, the recording fees, and all the state fees. So yeah, that'll be there. So yeah, but we can do that if it's gone down. If it's gone up, he doesn't have to do anything.
So, but you do go with today's
Exactly, with today's rate.
interest
Yeah,
rates.
because we can only set the profit today on the agreement. That's it.
Only if he asks for it. If he doesn't ask for it,
Yeah.
I know, but I just want to know if your profit is based on today's interest.
On today's,
Yeah.
because we are competing with the banks, so we always are looking to see. We have to be competitive because we get a call. 99% of our brothers will call us, want to do Islamic financing, but they will also call the bank, and they will tell us, brother, I'm getting this rate with the bank. How? So we have to be matching. And brother, the next generation of people buying a home, it's not like the immigrant community who came from overseas. Next generation people, kids coming to us are millennials, kids who are born in this country. These are very savvy customers. Click, click, click. They know every rate. They know everything. They apply online. Blah blah blah. So with them, before they come to us, they will already bring a spreadsheet with them. Here's what the pricing is. What I get. So we have to be competitive. So when we set our pricing, we want to be competitive with the bank.
So question for you, Mike. I had to go. I didn't get my house to brother, so you know. What set you differently than the normal bank? Because as you can hear, many people, they will ask Sheikh about what's riba, what's riba. What sets you different? I mean, what do you give example for giving the future interest? Is that something the conventional bank doesn't do it? So what if you have a column, what sets you differently? Because the bottom line, we Muslims, most of us, we look at our finance, right? We would like to feel like we would like to do something right, but also we can't buy a pound of lamb for $10.
Yeah. So it's a great question, brother. The answer is very simple. The answer is very simple. Besides your niyyah, which you're trying to do correctly to do it correctly, the paperwork is different. With a bank, you are signing a promissory note to pay a loan that you have borrowed with a particular interest rate, and you're signing. You're basically buying money. With us, The paperwork is an installment sale contract.
Forgive me. That's the paperwork. I want the actual benefit. What do I get? Am I being taken advantage because I want to do halal way by the brothers like you and the organization, or do I have a fair, at least comparable to conventional bank? Do you have something other than halal, other than paperwork?
Yeah. Well, when you are shopping for a house, you will compare our payment to the bank's payment. And there is no pressure on anybody. We always tell you, give us a chance. So people only come to us. The reason we've gone to $2 billion in less than 10 years is because our pricing is very competitive. So now I will never stand here and tell you our pricing is going to be lower than the banks, because it cannot be, because there are banks always, there will always be some bank who will be competitive. So if you're coming to us, if money is the same, my question to you is, does avoiding riba important to you or not?
So how often is the same?
Most of the time. Like today our
Just for your brothers, because
Yeah.
bottom line is how much you pay, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
most-
thank you.
And also, brother, there are some very unique things about late payment fee and other
Yeah,
features.
those things, those
Yeah,
things.
those
I want
things,
to
yeah,
hear.
those things like a bank. With a bank, if you are late on payments, they will charge you late payment fees that are percentage of your payment. Then they charge interest on that. Before you know it, just that bucket of late payment fees, interest, etc., becomes so high. With us, we cannot do that. Because we have to treat people humanely. So with us, first of the month is your payment due, 15-day grace period. After 15 days, we charge you $50 flat fee. There is no other interest on top of that or whatever. Why we do that? Because if we do not have an incentive to pay, people will delay and take their time. Even this money, we cannot keep it, because our profit is fixed. This money is given to Islamic charities because scholars say that money you take is haram for you, because you have already agreed to a fixed amount of profit. So there are very features about how we deal with people, the foreclosure process, this, that. So there are very many things that are very unique to our program.
Yeah, that would be very helpful for a slide that differentiates you from, because there's a PPP, I think, prepayment penalty, what have you.
Yeah, we don't have that.
I paid my house from 30 years to 10 years, and the whole bank, not this bank, they took $420,000, they took like $19,000 profit, which is unheard of. So yeah, I don't know what you're going to present, but those things make a difference for our community. You could say, why? I'm getting the same thing from West Fargo. Why I come with you? Because it's halal, so what?
No, and again, brother, this is a program. Again, see, we all do things because we like it, right? If I drive, for example, if I drive a BMW, I can drive a Honda or something, but we are making a choice to drive a BMW because we value the BMW, the clothes you wear, the food you eat, halal food. I mean, you can buy not halal food for cheaper, but if you're eating halal food, there's because you see value in it. Similarly, with this program also, besides pricing being very, very competitive, as you pointed out, as well features, but people should come to us because we are also supporting masjids, supporting communities, supporting our, there are so many advantages. I mean, I can go into many things, alhamdulillah, but the main thing is dollars and cents matter. Yes.
Interest. I'm not sure if the real estate agents know or not, but as an appraiser, we look every day at markets and all this.
Sure.
And appraisers are predicting the crash, that housing market, because the minute interest rate goes above 5%, the first state to go out is California, Arizona, Texas, Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's going to be upside down. What happens to you?
See, the crash word is I think sometimes used a little bit too much. And I'll tell you why. I do a lot of reading. I spend 20 hours reading about the economists and all the different markets and whatever. So I see our own numbers because we are doing 30 million a month. So I see what's happening. And I have a little bit higher view because we are in 23 states. Definitely, there are pockets like Seattle, Northern California. There are off. You can tell they're back to that nosebleed level. I can easily see those markets collapsing, and we're seeing it. In Seattle, already we are seeing properties down 10 to 50%. The bigger homes, the bigger the home you are crushed. Even in Chicago area, the homes that were 1.2, 1.5 million, you cannot sell it for 1 million right now because of the tax laws that change, etc. So the higher end homes, crushed, no doubt about it. But when you are looking at homes in the 200 to 400 range, that's not that big a deal. People are still coming in. Houses are forming. There's not that much inventory out there. So at up to 5 or 6%, you will not have a big problem with that. That starts happening when you're getting to 7, 8%. Up to 6%, if my payment is going up by 30, 40, $50, and if I have a family and 2 kids or 3 kids, I'm not going to not buy a house 50, 60 bucks. I have to still buy the house. I have to live in. So it's very regionalized now. A lot of the states that we're looking at, home values have not gone up crazy like Southern Northern California. California for the most part is crazy, a little bit like that. Seattle is very much so. Some parts of Northern Virginia are like that.
What happens to you though?
Doesn't affect us because of two reasons. One, even if, God forbid, we go out of business, we maybe cannot do new deals, but we are still getting money back from customers who we've already bought the house and given it to them. So we cannot do new business. But we went through 2007, 2008, 2009. Big banks closed down. Alhamdulillah, we were in great shape. We never did any subprime. We never had any problem. None of our customers foreclosed because everybody we had correctly. So Islamic financing companies look like superstars back then because we didn't participate before. And even if this happens now, for us it's no problem. We will continue financing homes very carefully and doing what we do best.
I have a question about the profits compared to interest.
Okay.
You have fixed profit, let's say 20,000, as you put it over 100 to
It's an example.
Oh,
Okay.
is the example, yes.
Yeah.
Is your interest fixed during the period of the payment? The interest you put on the monthly?
It's not interest, it's
No
the
interest,
profit we
you can do
put.
it.
The profit we are
No, I
adding.
mean,
Yeah.
no, the profits
Yeah,
that
the
you
profit
collect.
we put is based on the term of the contract.
Okay.
So if you're doing a 30-year contract, for example, I can quote you a 30-year profit
Yes.
in hard dollars. I can tell you we will be charging $157,365, 42 cents in profit.
Okay.
Or I can say it's 5% profit rate. People understand 5% a lot better than 157,000, etc. So we convert everything in percentage terms so people can understand and compare versus the bank and so forth. But we fix the profit once we return.
Right.
Anybody has question? Otherwise, I have questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, this brother has a question here, inshallah.
You were mentioning about credit, and the down payment is based on credit. If the credit is low, you would have to make a higher down payment. So let's say they pay like 20-30% down or something, and still the credit is not.
Brother, credit score 620 is our cutoff. If you are below 620, it doesn't matter what down payment you do, we might not be able to do the deal for you.
Okay,
But so you have to look at approval of home financing like a stool with 3 legs: income, credit, down payment. If one of the leg is weak, the other 2 have to be strong. So you have to look at it like that. So if your credit is weak, maybe 630, 640, which is not good, then we will not be able to do 5% down. We might tell you, you have to put 20% down. But if your credit is 680, 690, 700, now we can tell you, you can put 5% down. So it's like a function of credit and down payment, because the more, if your credit is not good, that means for us the risk becomes a little bit too much. So we are adjusting the risk by saying, you need to put a little bit more money down. Because this is community money we're using, we want to be careful for all sides of it, inshallah.
But the old way, I mean, they used to say if you have 20%, they don't look at your
The
credit.
old days are
No, so
gone.
not-
Khalas. Yeah,
No,
those good old days are not there anymore. Yes, brother. I'll take that
Yeah,
back to you.
since I've been going to real estate business, some people have been asking me questions.
Sure.
And the question is, some people have been known they are low income. And they have like state help.
Yeah.
Like they give like 25,000.
Yes.
And those, they're going to pay back like that.
Yes.
How is that going to affect when they get to your program? And come to you tell you, okay, we have loan, we have something from state.
It's a very good question about down payment assistance program.
Uh-huh.
We are doing it in Minnesota.
Mhm.
What we have to do, brother, is we have to look to see whether that down payment assistance program complies with the Sharia part of it.
Oh,
Because that is the big concern we have. If it is a situation where the state is giving you money, and it is not in the form of a loan, it is basically either a down payment assistance with no interest or whatever. It's the money that they give it to you. When you sell the house, you have to give it back to them. Same amount of money. That case we can do it. But if the state is giving you the money, it's a loan on top of a loan. Islamically, you cannot have a contract within a contract. So there are some issues that
like
violate
similar,
the
kind of thing.
yeah. So I have to see the paperwork of that state's program, and then we have to come back and tell you, yes, we can do this, or we cannot do this. So I cannot just blankly say yes or no like that. But
It was the same type of question
okay,
as far as how you do the assistant
yeah.
help.
So what I'm going to do, I'm traveling to Chicago. I came yesterday. I'm traveling, so I already prayed my Isha prayer, and then I have to go to dinner at my friend's house. Cards are here, brother. Please take one if you want, and then let us know.
His brother has questions. After the adhan, let's do it.
Yes. What time is it? No, I can keep going. What is
6:45. We have 45 more minutes.
Brother, help yourself some food. You plate? How much you charge? For the plate? 10%? Don't pay me. We have plates?
I
Are you giving us people that ask me?
We have napkins.
Because just when I'm going to the city, not probably just
Or you can even like email me or text me.
because we are studying the phone, mortgage company, how we get in touch with you so we are free. No way. If somebody has a license. How do we get that? Yeah.
Then you have to email me the resume here. Then I can have an interview and see if you're fit for us. I'm also interviewing people right now. Five people already spoke yesterday and today. So we're in the What you send your resume, we'll consider it, because like I said, I'm interviewing right now. But you cannot do that. You're interviewing. That's you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because Assalamu alaikum. All right, I'll take a few more questions, inshallah, then I have to go to my cousin's house for dinner, inshallah.
We're coming with you. You said 4 times, so it must be big meal, so we're coming with you.
Ah, please, come on, inshallah, no problem, absolutely. Yes.
Come on, this question I want to check out.
Okay. You want to talk to one-on-one? Okay, let me finish that, inshallah.
No,
But it's recorded.
Connect me to a brother, because I don't need that.
Yes.
Brother, the prince, the emir. No.
say thank some of the ulama because they are using you buy a house for 300,000, but I buy a house for 30,000. So there's a gap.
Oh, that's coming?
Let me just take a few questions individually.
What? Well, I take it down from downstairs. We are upstairs. You're on time.
Okay.
Why it's going to be what? He hired somebody from Colorado to the opening Colorado. Oh.
Oh, no worries.
Let's take question from
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
No, it's fine.
For example, I bought a house for 400,000
Yeah.
last year. I'm in the banking system.
Yeah.
And I want to switch over to yours,
Yes.
UIF.
Yeah.
So I buy a house for 400,000. I put down 20% down. I'm at 320,000.
Yes.
So I pay. So for example, I want to refi to you guys.
Yes.
And I let's use solid numbers. So I want to refi 300,000 with you guys.
Yes.
Because that's how much I owe
Yes. Okay.
Wells Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you guys pay off Wells Fargo for 300,000?
That's exactly what we do.
And now,
We would buy them out, and then we would get into contract with you.
okay.
You will buy us out with profit over time.
So, besides, alhamdulillah, we are all Muslim, right? But, so on that, based on 300,000, do you know what today's interest rate is?
Well, today I told you our 30-year right now is about 5% profit rate. So if you got the deal 6 months ago, 1 year ago when the rates were lower,
Yeah,
monetarily it will not make sense for you to come to us right now,
right,
money-wise,
right, money-wise.
because you did it when the rates were lower.
Right.
We were also, our rates were also lower 1 year ago.
Right,
So right now, when you did it and your rate was lower, right now the rates have gone up. Even for Wells Fargo, the rates have gone up for everybody, right?
everyone.
So today, if our rate is 5% profit rate, and you are sitting at 4.5, money-wise, it will not be a
Right,
financially, it's not a good decision for you.
Right.
However, if you want to do it for Sharia reasons, that's your call. I
Right.
cannot tell you what to do.
right. So now on that 300,000,
Yeah.
we add 5% profit to it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what does that come out to?
Well, let me do individual situations individually. I don't want to get into individual because I don't personally work on individual files. I
Right.
manage the company, but I'll put you in touch. If you just email me,
No, I mean just hard number, just asking.
because see,
what
I don't know your credit
questions.
score. I don't know your DTI.
Oh, okay.
So there are factors I don't know, so I cannot just throw out numbers for you without not knowing. So for us to give you an exact payment, what it would be, I have to know the other details about it. It's like you go to a doctor and say, doctor, my stomach is hurting, give me pain medication. Well, doctor is going to say, how can I give you pain medication? I have to first do some testing on you. Similarly with us, if you come to us and you say, throwing out rates, I can give you what our base rate is, 5% 30-year today. But I have to know what your other situation is.
So I think the question is 5% of $300,000. That's the question, right? That's just math. I mean, because that 5%.
But you cannot do it. It's not a simple interest math, brother. You cannot just multiply 5%.
I know. My major is math,
Oh.
so compound interest. I know. So
Amortized.
yeah, it's become a formula.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're in business. A formula that is not going to be like multiply 5 by. Or
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
It's I know the formula. So your question is how much would be money-wise, right? 4 or 5%. So I think the answer should be you can Google it now. Absolutely. You can seriously, brothers. You can Google for 300,000. You put your down payment how much? You put 5% and give you the formula. I think how did you get to 5%? That's what you said. Your credit history, your down payment, all those things, right? Whether 5% or 4.5%.
That's an amortization calculator. But like I said, I cannot give an exact payment right now because I don't know his individual situation.
Right, but so there's no 20%, 10% down because.
No, there is. You told me starting off that you had put 20% down.
Right, with the Wells Fargo, for example.
So I'm assuming that 20% equity is in the house still.
Right.
If you had told me 5% down you put, then that brings a whole other series of
Yeah.
questions. How much equity is in the house right now?
Right.
But I went off the assumption you said I put 20% down, so I said okay, that's good enough. I'll go with that. And you also said I'll make my contract 300. Hopefully your home values have gone up. It's not gone down. So there are some assumptions in there I'm making as well, right? But what I don't want to do over here today is get into individual situations because it's first of all a private matter, number one, so privacy issues. Secondly, I manage the company. I don't deal with individual customers. So when you email me and say, hey, I met you at the masjid dinner and I look at this, I'm going to connect you with some brother because we don't have a local brother yet right now. I'm looking to hire here, but I don't have anybody hired local over here right now. But so I have to connect you with somebody on the West Coast or another team member who can then understand your situation and give you individual answers. What I'm saying.
Maybe my last question.
Yes,
go ahead.
Is it where do the company get money from? Community members or private investors or from the bank?
Very good question. So this question brother asked is very important. People always ask this question, brother, how did you get your money from?
Yes.
How are you finding it, right? So I answered this question in two steps. The first step is before we get into and I explain to you how we get the money from, how we raise money from the community, etc. Look at our relationship. Our relationship is on buying and selling a product. Okay? Whenever we buy and sell a product, you are responsible for your source of money, we are for our source of money. Just like you go buy a car. You don't ask the car dealer, where did you get the money from to put the car on the lot? You go to Walmart and you buy a product. You know, you sell your car to John Smith. You don't ask John Smith, where's the money coming from? Because buy, sell, we are responsible for our money, right? So that's the more important part, relationship buying and selling. But let me explain now how we raise capital. We've raised $30 million from the community. We use this money to buy the house in cash first. Once we've bought the house, we have a contract. So we are looking for investors to buy these contracts. So we have investors who buy these contracts from us, but you never deal with them. You only deal with us. Okay? But we sell these contracts to other investors so we can get the money back so we can keep funding more deals every day.
So over here I have a question. Like you say that you are going to sell the contract to other organizations.
Another investor, yes.
Okay, you are saying investors, but we can consider this as a bank. Like you are selling this contract.
It's Freddie Mac, it's a government institution. Okay. So Freddie Mac is a government entity. So they are buying Islamic contracts on a limited basis. We have some offshore Islamic banks as well who deal with us. But you can be our investor. If you have $10 million, we will create $10 million worth of Islamic contracts and we will sell it to you. But we deal with our own customers. So yeah, it could be investor, can be Freddie Mac, can be Islamic bank, can be private institutions. Whoever want to invest in Islamic contracts, we can do so.
So over here, the question is that if you gonna to sell this contract or transfer this contract to other organizations, what will be the dealing point after selling this contract to other organizations?
You will never, because I'm telling you this right now, you know that. Other than that, you will never know because you only deal with us throughout the life of the contract. You write your checks to UIF, you mail it to us, we manage the relationship start to end. So you have nothing to do with the other organization.
So I think this question, a very good question, brother, and I know for a fact many of our want to do Islamic loan, because I have to investigate this very, 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 very deeply. All of them, they sell back to the Fannie Mae.
Freddie Mac.
Yes. So the question, Islamically, is riba or not riba, right? That's what you want to worry about. Plus, is it a good deal or being taken advantage of because I'm Muslim? Because we have some stores around here, they sell you halal meat, like 50% more.
Yes.
I don't want to have a halal mortgage with the 50% more. That would be robbery.
Yeah.
But we should not get in a business, if I did this, I'm not looking for a really Islamic opinion. If they go ahead and sell this to another bank or something, guess what? Being a store owner, selling, knives and things, somebody could buy from me a knife, I'm not going to have an investigation. Will you cut potatoes or will you commit a crime with it? That's, I think, Islamically, there's some statement, which is here, there's a statement, Islamically, that's none of your business. You cannot, practically cannot make sure somebody is not going to pay you with the haram money when you sell a product, not knowing your employee that you pay going to commit haram with that money. I think there's some Islamic saying. For us, is the aqd,
Yes.
the agreement, is this buying and selling. That's important. Second, are you taking advantage of me because I want to be a God-fearing person? If those two things are answered, yes, I'm happy with it. That's why it made me wait for 10 years before I bought. I could buy a house, I could buy, even when I did buy a house myself, not from those guys, I didn't know that. I went for the bare minimum, maybe qualified for 4 times the amount I got, and I couldn't wait to pay it off. And I put all my effort, and I paid it off in 10 years or less. I mean, that's how Muslims should think. Sometimes we have to do some darura, some necessity. Inshallah, this is halal. But even if it's a darura, which is necessity, try to get out of it as soon as possible. Allah.
It's a great, exact. I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, tomorrow, if you sell the house, we finance for you. John Smith comes and buys the house from you. You bought it for $100,000, you're selling for $200,000. If John Smith is getting a bank financing from Wells Fargo to buy the house from you, what has that got to do with you? You are selling the house to John Smith. You put a house for sale in the market. Somebody wants to come and buy your house. How he finances the house, that's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing to do with you. Just in a buy-sell transaction, you are responsible for your source of money, we are for our source of money. So we are also, when we are selling these contracts, we are telling the investors beforehand, contract cannot be changed. Our contract Islamic is already done. If you are agreeing to take the money that we are collecting from this brother, we can sell you the contract. But you are never going to deal with this brother directly. You only deal with us. So yeah, that's how it works. Yes.
My question was, so example, you buy a house for 120, and the contract is for 30 years to pay it off.
Yeah.
But you pay it off in 10 years.
Yeah.
So
You only pay profit for the 10 years. You pay less profit, you pay for 10 years. Because if you're paying extra money, you're buying the house out sooner. So you pay less profit, you only pay prorated profit for 10-year period. Okay?
So it's same with the contract for 10 years, you pay it off 5 years.
Sure. You can pay it off in 1 year. You do a 10-year contract, but you suddenly have a lot of money coming through from overseas. You want to buy, you only pay the balance in the acquisition bucket. Khalas, you're done.
So it's like paying the 100 and you're forgiven for the 20?
Well, you may have paid us 1 month. Let's say if you got 1 month or 2 months, whatever you paid profit for 2 months, khalas, that's it. And you pay $99,000 and that's it. But then I have to go to another party. If you don't mind, let me stop right here. But please, I have a couple more cards that somebody once said. If you want us to look at your interview situation, you need pre-qualification letter, let me know. I will have you talk to one of the brothers in our company who deals with customers. They will help you, inshallah, and guide you more.
And also something.